the next president of the United States.
Jeffrey Epstein.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Philadelphia. My name is Pork Roll, and I have with me my radio co-host.
I'm just Liz.
Just Liz. Don't let her tell you that. They call her Cinnamon Bun. And we have with us here our producer, Young Chomsky. Welcome to TrueAnon.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to TrueAnon.
Hello.
That's Brace.
Pork Roll.
No, not pork roll.
Pigskin.
Guys, we are so excited because we are starting out. We didn't even think we would do this, and then we just decided to do it, and now it's a thing. Our summer election coverage. The summer has officially started.
We're doing summer election coverage?
Well, it'll go into the fall.
Because isn't the election in November?
Well, here's the fun fact.
We're stopping in August.
The election goes into November, obviously, because the election is in November. But as astute forecasters know, like ourselves, the election shan't end until January.
Ooh, yeah.
Because we know neither side is going to accept the results.
I have a feeling that's true.
And two, early voting, I saw in some places, starts like in late September, early October, which is like really fucking crazy. Yeah. So, which also means if there is an October surprise for all of our October surprise heads out there, probably more of a like August, September moment.
I want to say this right now. In the lead up to this election, I think you're going to hear a lot of voices from all parts of society, from the Washington Post to the New York Times and everything in between.
In between the Selleck corridor.
Yes, which is Philadelphia.
It's more of a triangle, isn't it?
Is the only nonpartisan, non-pedophile,
Yes.
Well, we're not a lot of things, but we are completely
unbiased.
Neutral, unbiased.
Original reporting. On the ground, gumshoeing, and, you know, we talk to the people, we hang out, we talk to ourselves, and we have a good time.
What I do in order to not feel any, like, tinges of political partisanship when I go to anything like this is I start my morning off, I drink about a 4 or 5 grams of colostrum water.
Okay. Amra? I can never say it.
I don't know, but it's human colostrum, to be
sure.
clear, not cow colostrum, because it is
bovine.
better for you. Yeah, not bovine. I am not a cow. I am a man, so it comes from a mother's milk. Yeah. I masturbate so as not to feel attracted to any of the candidates. I take a considerable amount of ketamine, sort of deaden myself and depersonalize. And then during any political event we go to, I'm looking at cartoons on my phone.
Yeah, I did catch that.
Yeah. Oh, full on
Dilbert.
Yeah, the animated series.
You
Dilbert.
have that ad. It's like a Daily Dilbert ad.
Daily Dilbert.
And it's just a sell a day.
It comes in handy in a lot of cases too, because I get I'm neurodivergent. I do the fidget spinners, all that kind of stuff. Nothing calms me down like a back-to-back The Critic Dilbert.
Oh, The Critic was good though.
And what else is it? Oh, porn. So I'm basically looking at I have 3 iPads in front of me in a sort of like gamer Twitch streamer setup.
Right.
And
like one of those old school, like when you lay out and you're tanning and it's the aluminum foil thing, but it's with iPads, which also does get you a tan.
It does.
Enough. Yeah.
It does.
Kind of UV.
But we are
going
into all this naked as a babe in the woods.
Sure.
And
just
no
as
judgments.
God made us.
No judgments, no votes, no nothing. We're just going in and calls them as we see them.
Yes. So everyone, welcome to Vote True No Matter Who 2024. I think we need a theme song. In my head, I feel like it should be the Roundball Rock song or like a version of that. Well, I can't believe you guys are looking at me like this. This is a classic. John Tesh, NBC. Oh my God. I'm going to play it for you.
I'm going to say...
Do you seriously not know this?
No.
Oh my God. He's uncultured swine.
Kiss me
No.
under the milky twilight.
Oh wait, that's YMCA.
That's YMCA, Liz.
Okay.
Okay,
yeah.
I like this.
No,
We
I've
got some
heard that.
cowbell.
Yeah.
Come on, it's classic.
Kiss me.
There's
under the
NBA on
milky
NBC.
twilight.
No, yeah,
Kiss
I didn't know the
me.
title.
I'll wear that hat. Kiss me.
All right.
That's the theme song.
Well, but
We'll make it.
I think Chomsky puts
you can
his
make your
own
own.
little
Make-
funk on it.
Make one that sounds like that.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
Maybe a little riff on
Just
it.
type that into the AI generator.
well,
You
know.
are part AI now, which is something that we're very excited about.
Oh yeah.
So everyone, spoiler alert, we went to Sillydelphia.
Laugh Sylvania.
That's funny. To see the Grand Dame herself, Mr. Donald Trump, speak. Our first Trump rally, or my first Trump rally, but our first Trump rally together.
My first Trump rally. I've never been to a Trump rally
That's
before.
right. You've been to MAGA stuff.
I've been to a lot of MAGA stuff, but I've
Yeah.
never actually seen them see him.
Yeah.
If that makes
Interesting.
sense.
Yes, it does make sense.
It was.
We look at them looking at him,
Yeah.
and then he looks at us, and the circle is complete.
Facts. I'm going to tell you this right now. Philadelphia, I know everybody who doesn't live on the East Coast, which is hopefully most of you, you guys think of Philadelphia as like part of New York, right? Like it's right there. It's like the sixth borough or whatever.
I feel
It's
people really
actually-
don't say that
it's
very much.
really
anymore.
far. It's really far if you don't know how to drive.
It was like an hour train for you, wasn't it?
Interesting.
On the way there.
All told,
On the way
my
there.
train journey, I would say, took the equivalent of about 7 hours.
Oh, do you have some thoughts on trains, Brace?
I do. I want to get those out of the way. Actually, maybe we can get those in chronological order. But I want to say this. We received a lot of perturbed comments from
Non-train
people.
taking people.
Do you guys have the same thoughts on trains? Because first of all, my people were taken to Auschwitz on trains.
So true.
So there, and guess what? Oh, you think maybe I'll pop on over to Italy where they don't take you to the gas chamber? First of all, they did do that sometimes. But second of all, Mussolini's in charge.
And my ancestors are busy looking for that one lost train with all the gold.
Exactly. I don't have kind things to say about the train system after our little trip to my journey to and from Philadelphia.
One thing I'll say is that people, whenever you criticize the trains, people are like, all that needs to happen is it needs to be funded. The problem isn't the trains. Listen, everything needs to be funded. You're not getting me with that shit.
And
I
I'll
get
say
to complain
this.
about the world as it exists. I don't deal with hypotheticals. I don't deal in utopias. I live in the real world. Get used to it.
Oh, China has a really good train system. Correct. I live in America.
Yeah,
where
we
the
are
train
cave
system.
people.
I'm not saying they should defund it further. I don't see how they
We are
can.
malformed cave people who live in garbage.
I am disabled in invisible ways and some visible ones. Well, it's actually it still
pretty
works.
visible to
It
me.
still fucking works. I'll say that. I can't drive. You can't drive. The train is a lifeline for people like me to get to Sillydelphia. And unfortunately, my lifeline failed and I died. So,
But then you were resurrected.
I was resurrected. So Trump was in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
When was this? This is Saturday?
Saturday. We headed on down to Pennsylvania to see him. And we're just gonna go right on through, I guess, chronologically. It's the best way to kind of paint this picture.
Well, let's jump back a little bit because Pennsylvania looms large in presidential campaign.
That's true.
Trump barely won Pennsylvania in 2016. I think it was by something like 50,000 votes. And then Biden barely won it in 2020. I don't remember the exact amount of votes. It was more than 50,000, but like not a lot.
Quite contentious.
Yeah.
Even as far as swing states go.
He spoke at Temple University. Now, I assumed that was a Jewish university, but I'm being told that it's just a college.
It was a...
Jewish university.
I have absolutely no idea. I don't keep track of those things. But I do know that Trump has only won 5% of the vote in precincts, like in a half-mile radius around Temple, and is really, really going after specifically the African American vote in those precincts.
What's interesting to me too is there's been like a ton of YouTube videos. Like there's like these guys that are like, I don't know how to describe it to you, Liz, but like there's these guys that are like kind of freaks that like will just make YouTube videos of homeless people and like they're like thumbnails like
where they're like, oh, I'm on Kensington,
zombie.
Look at all this fucking fentanyl.
And so like there's like,
and then he's doing the Mr. Beast.
Yeah,
with,
yeah,
like,
they're like dark beasts. They're like dark Mr. Beasts.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they don't give you anything. They just sort of
take.
But that came up in a lot of sort of the chatter around this event. Like, oh, it's right near Kensington. And indeed, when we were in line, I heard like several sort of, just like me, bright-eyed, bushy-tails youngsters visiting the city being like, we're near Kensington, like from the YouTube videos.
Oh man, that's weird.
But it just seemed like a normal part of town to me. It was like there was a street and a parking garage and then a big ass building.
I gotta say, I don't really know much about Philly. It was in North Philly. That's where Temple is. Mm-hmm. Okay.
North Philly.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Me neither.
Yeah, I didn't see any college students.
We got there. I made Brace get there pretty early.
That's true. That's
and then
true.
I was late.
You know, that's also true. Yeah. No, both those things are true.
But we got there and there was a huge line. There were a lot of people coming out to see him. And it makes sense because, like you were saying, Pennsylvania is such a big state for the election.
Absolutely, yeah. It was funny. So there was this when we were waiting in line, it was like in like an alleyway or like a side street, really, between the actual place where the event was held and then this other just like big faceless, I assume, Temple University building. Also, maybe like a sports thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
And there was a bunch of merch people set up, which I got to tell you, I've seen a lot of right wing or like Trump aligned right wing merch in my life. Not really so great this year. It was a pretty
There's
low
just not
quality.
a lot of new. There's not a lot of new novelty fun.
Yeah.
I mean, there's obviously the Never Surrender, which is going really hard.
Yes.
And is pretty, as far as iconic looks go, pretty iconic.
Pretty good.
But as clever kind of, I don't know, slogans or quippy T-shirts. It's all kind of the same.
Yeah. Well, one thing you have to say about the Trump people is that they do sort of take his, I don't know what, like not missteps, but his like negative things that might be negative for another candidate, like a mugshot or like misspeaking or any of that, and they're kind of able to turn it around and make like a fun thing.
Yeah.
Like kafifi or whatever, shit
Right.
like that, or the mugshot. And I just didn't see that
He looks
much
good
of
in
it.
the mugshot, though.
Of course,
That's
he looks
the
great
thing.
in the fucking mugshot.
Yeah, very photogenic.
I did not see much of that, and I was rather disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, part of it is that we haven't had a lot of good Trump. Like in the past 4 years, it's not like it was during the time when he was in office and he was able to, speak right into the cameras all the time. And you had a lot of the mainstream media. I'm not saying lamestream anymore. Mainstream media, covering a lot of stuff and making fun of him. We haven't had a lot of that.
No.
So maybe people just don't have a lot to work with.
Yeah, that's kind of what it felt like. So the line was kind of what you'd expect, a lot of young people, but a lot of old people as well. We were in line behind a pleasant, diminutive elderly woman who was quite talkative. And in fact, I would say probably overly, well, I guess I was overly solicitous. She was overly able to be solicited. But
She gave me a bottle of water.
Yeah, she did give you a bottle of water, and there was free water out there as well.
Yeah, I didn't take that though. She gave me hers, which was very nice.
She was great.
No, she was super nice though. She was all decked. She had, very long nails, very like all done nails, kind of like American flag shawl, I would say.
Yeah.
And she was like pretty decked out, although she said that compared to other rallies she'd bbeen to, it wasn't as crazy as she'd seen.
And we asked, like, oh, what other rallies have you been to? And she named a few Trump rallies.
Yeah.
And then she was like, yeah, no, I was at like the Stop the Steal rally in Washington. And I was like, oh, interesting.
Yeah, the way she said it too, it took me a second to kind of put it together. And I was like, oh, she meant January 6th.
And she has, like, I would say, I don't want to identify her anyway, but like she had a job where that would not fly.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Yeah.
She worked in the government.
Yeah, but she was very open.
I know. That's what I found curious because so I've talked to multiple people that were January 6th that weren't caught or whatever.
Yeah.
Or maybe they were after I talked to them. Not like that. But like maybe they were at some later date. I don't know. But they were all really freaked out, right?
Yeah.
Like I didn't even ask for their names or anything, but they were like all very like, like scared. They were actively paranoid about it. It's sort of, they obviously all immediately volunteered that they were there.
Yeah.
But like not anything else. I met some guy who had like changed his name and moved out of the state that he lived in and like quit his affiliation with the Proud Boys because of it.
Probably a good move.
Very good move. This woman, I will say, had no compunctions.
No, but she was it was one of those things where she was very adorable and really nice, but also, I don't know if it was a sense of everyone we talked to was very friendly. I want to say that. But also I think everyone kind of felt they were amongst their own friendlies. And so everyone was very open about what they thought, in ways that I felt like maybe if, we had identified ourselves as not as like, being in the podcast game or the content game or the new, there were people around that were of those affiliations, know, that maybe they wouldn't have been so open.
Yeah. That's true. Well, I think if we had just said, I don't know. I think if we had said our podcast is called TrueAnon, that people might have liked it. But I wasn't like, and we weren't recording anybody or anything.
No,
like
we were
that.
just having conversations.
Yeah.
But everyone was very cool, very open, very like, well, they're even if he doesn't win, they're gonna steal it from him anyway. It was kind of like or if he does win, they'll steal it. He won't get. I don't know. There was a very big uphill battle that everyone was kind of coming together to fight.
I talked to a number of people that mentioned the stolen election thing. Pretty much like just volunteering and being like that's what that's what they thought was going to happen if he didn't win. I did talk to a guy. So I'm most interested in, listen, I'm nonpartisan, but money is green, right? It's green. Can't argue with that. Sometimes it's black if you have that little funky card. So I talked to the gentlemen that were selling merch. They were kind of walking up and down with these little carts selling hats, t-shirts, etc. And I was talking to this guy about his company because he was like, actually, I print a lot of the shirts that these guys are selling. And he was the owner of something called campaignarmor.com, which I was like, I like the name of that. Liz, could you actually read from, I really like this like description that he left for.
Yes. Campaign Armor was born from necessity and desperation in 2009. I was 2 months behind on my mortgage and working 3 part-time jobs trying to make ends meet. By far the darkest hours of my life! ! Obama had just been sworn in as POTUS, and Glenn Beck started the 9/12 Project. Don't remember that one.
Day after 9/11.
Okay. I used the mortgage payment I had saved up to purchase 144 Gadsden flag t-shirts with the 9/12 principles on the back. It truly was a sink or swim move. It was going to work or it wasn't. I took my shirts to the Tax Day Tea Party rally in St. Louis on April 15th, 2009 and sold all of my shirts! ! I made close to $3,000 that day and was able to bring my mortgage current and buy more shirts. In 2015, ... Donald J. Trump announced he was running for office, and it truly changed my life. We sold for all candidates, but nothing was like a Trump rally. Now, I have made a 4,000 square foot shop in Springfield, Missouri, and an entire screen printing and embroidery shop servicing the local market, and not to mention the Trump rallies that still bring in thousands. We've come a long way, and I have you to thank for it! ! That's a nice story.
So I really liked this guy.
Yeah, he was cool.
He was cool. But it also made me think of something. Now, I know a lot of you out there are like, I don't feel comfortable voting for anybody. Not my business what you do in your personal life. But I'll say that. If you're one of these loony lefties who doesn't want to vote for no Joe Biden or Donald Trump or RFK or Cornel West, I'm not going to do the impression
Is
there.
Jill Stein doing her thing this year?
I think she maybe is. I don't know.
Listen to TrueAnon for election coverage where we don't know where the candidates
well,
are.
that doesn't matter, right?
Yeah. Well,
I'm not a big fan. I'll say that.
I think she seems nice.
I paid her $5,000 to heal my chakras, and in fact, my chakras have become only more unaligned as time has progressed. I'm going to say this. If you are somebody who doesn't know what to do with themselves in election year, rather than being, I'm Antifa, going to get arrested, whatever, sell Trump shirts at Trump rallies. Start selling fucking merch at these things.
Also, maybe you're clever and you're going to come up with something better than they got out there, because it's not great.
Well, I do want to say this. So, as listeners know, I'm one of America's foremost social experimenters that there is.
Interesting way to phrase that.
And so for this rally, and I'm also, you know what? I'm an entrepreneur.
Okay. Putting these
And
things together in my head.
I'm an entrepreneur and a social experimenter. I made a shirt to wear to this rally to see how it would test among the target audience. And let me tell you, it boots the motherfucking house down. I printed up a shirt at one of those places that, like when your friend gets killed, you do like a RIP or whatever in downtown Brooklyn, that said, it had like check boxes that were unchecked that said Democrat, Republican, and then a big old check that said gay guy for Trump.
Yeah. In pink.
In pink. And the shirt was a light pink.
Yeah. It was you look good in light pink.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'd never worn it before and I kind of liked it.
Yeah, you might be a summer or a spring. Don't worry about it.
Oh, a season?
Don't worry about it.
I feel I am the winter. I tell you this, the shirt was a fucking hit at this rally. And I got to tell you, if you are looking to make some money this election cycle, which you should be, because this is first and foremost politics, whatever aside, this is a podcast about giving small business advice to young entrepreneurs in America.
Yeah.
Start selling Trump merchandise. Make your own designs. Break the mold.
Yes.
Creativity sells.
Plus, Trump is going to come after the drop shippers, so you got to get on this real quick.
He said he was going to arrest and execute drop shippers as part of his stump speech. But I told the guy, I mentioned that only in conjunction with the campaign armor guy, because at one point he noticed that shirt and he was like, "What is this shirt?" Like he had seen a new piece of Trump merch, and I was like, actually, I made it myself. But I think after that he was like, this guy's also a Trump merch guy. And
yeah, I think he kind of got wise to you, thinking that you were like trying to get in on the industry secret.
Yes, because I was like asking, but I'm not. I was just literally curious about his.
Yeah, because you kept being like, "So how's your business? How much are you doing?"
Yeah.
And he was studying like, I don't know if this guy's trying to
I'm not going to open up a 4,000 foot screen printing office in Springfield.
Maybe you should.
Yeah.
So who else did we encounter?
Well, I mean, I think in general there was I kept thinking in my head that I didn't know exactly what to expect from the crowd. Like I said, I had never been to a Trump event, or I've never been to a MAGA event.
I mean, have you been to a Democrat event? I don't know if I have.
I went to Obama's inauguration.
You did?
Yeah.
Damn.
In 2009. Yeah.
Amanda Gorman over there.
I mean, I was working, but
You were, oh, yeah.
no.
Secret
But I
Service.
actually, but that, I guess that would be the Democrat thing I've done.
That's a pretty big one.
Yeah, it's a big one. And my friend was like, I went with my friend who grew up in DC. Anyway, but I didn't know what to expect from the type of people I would see.
Yeah.
And I tried to go in with no expectations.
We have no we're not capable of expectations
We
here.
are too smooth-brained for that.
No, I'm nonpartisan.
And we do a shit ton of ketamine before, like we said.
So much.
So
And
we
do
just, we call it tabula rasa.
we are completely intramuscular.
So, yeah, I didn't know what to expect. And what I kind of walked away with thinking was like, okay, every kind of like cliche category of Trump person that exists, I feel like was there.
Yeah, definitely.
So there were the kind of like classic, guy in American flag, somehow Hawaiian print, but with Trump's face in it, like novelty shirt with American flag cowboy hat and American flag pants, like that guy. or the guys like with crazy like biker beards draped in
Yeah.
American flag. There was like those types.
And bikers for Trump.
Oh yeah, there was the whole section of bikers for Trump. But you know what I mean? There was like that kind of like crazed patriotic man
Yeah.
character. There were the scary booby ladies that were like basically wearing like exercise wear but had crazy spray tans
Gotcha.
and their like boobos were up in their ears.
You're talking about the beautiful women that were at the rally?
No, but they had like the crazy, they looked kind of like loomery.
Like,
They're-
no. Okay.
There were some loomers.
Liz.
The woman that was down in the VIP area, she was loomering.
You talking about the woman in black? With the
With the boobies?
the one with the boobies, the one I took a picture of. Her? Are you talking about
For
her?
your scrapbook?
Not for my scrapbook.
Yes.
For my hidden folder on in my phone. That woman. This is something that I actually
She
really.
looked like a little Philly loomery.
A lot of times, when a woman is beautiful, people think that their life is easy. Oh, you have pretty privilege. Oh, everyone's really nice to you because you're beautiful. What actually happens is that you have a lot of people tear you down because of the way you look, even though you're not ugly, but in fact beautiful. That woman was a Philadelphia 10. I'll say that.
What does that translate to?
It's not my place to say, but it's I'll mouth it to you.
Oh, okay. It was not mouthing.
She was. I mouthed it. I also just said it. The words a little bit. That lady, Laura Loomer, is one of the ugliest women to ever exist.
Wow. Talk about bringing women down.
I'm sorry.
No, the way I mean like loomer is like, you know, there's like the crazy MAGA sexy, like porny.
Yeah. What was that? Then
Booby
did
lady. The booby ladies.
The beer dad calendar. Remember that right wing
Yes,
scandal? Like those kind of
totally.
people.
So there was, like,
Libertarian
that.
redhead.
Yeah. But like super, super crazy tan and then like
Yeah.
absurd TikTok makeup
Yes.
and, you know, bad filler.
Yeah.
So we had the booby ladies. Then there was like the scary Phyllis Schlafly, like Angels of Death women.
It's interesting you say Angels of Death because I really could see these women sort of with clipboards ushering me into like
Yes.
a luncheon.
But like where you die.
Yeah, or I die at it.
Not because it like there's salmonella in the Caesar.
Yeah.
But because they're gonna like actually like fucking execute
It's
you.
actually I'm on the menu. We're eating Jewish food.
They looked like they were kind of like Kelly Ann, but Phyllis Schlafly.
They all looked exactly identical.
Oh, all of them identical, like actual Stepford wives, but like crazy blonde hair, and then all of them in various shades of like fuchsia and royal blue.
Yes, and they were scattered about the auditorium
Yes.
as well. That was what was
They had
interesting.
little clipboards.
Because, well, yes, I guess they were, yeah. But like, they were probably, I guess, signing people up to register to vote. But I noticed them like all over, and I thought I was tripping because I didn't realize how many there were. So I thought I kept seeing the same ones over and over.
Yeah, because they all looked the same but different. They were all same but different.
It was crazy. They all had that. They all looked exactly like Phyllis Schlafly kind of
Yes.
shit. It was fucking wild.
But like the new grotesquer like version of her,
Yeah.
somehow, which is even worse because it's like the Kellyanne Conway, like they were
Yeah.
like
They had a little-
Mar-a-Lago people.
Yes, yeah.
Oh my god, they were scary. Then there was just like the like random Vietnamese dudes,
Yeah.
which was kind of expected.
Yeah.
There were lots of young people, way more than you would think.
Yes,
way
definitely.
more than my blue ass thought.
I it's funny because I realized most of the MAGA events I've been to have been for like, it hasn't been for just like the average Trump guy. It's been like really like specific like right wing events.
Yeah.
That like you're probably not going to go to if you just like Trump. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there was always been like youngish people there, but like I would say skewed older, like 30s. There was a ton of people like in their early 20s.
Yes, absolutely. And everything from like Milady gamer guy.
Oh, well, we saw the
Yeah.
the fella behind us.
Yeah. To like Phi Gamma Delta Fall Rush 2023 novelty t-shirt crew.
Yeah, the
Frat
guys in front of
boys.
us.
Yeah. But like, I mean, there was every type of 22-year-old from those guys, and everyone in between. There were 2 twins.
There were some blonde twins sitting in front of us.
Twins.
Oh, well.
Oh, but that by 2 twins, I mean 1 set of twins, 2 people.
One set of twins. Which I will say this, and I know I've said this on the show before. I don't know why this is, and I'm sorry that this is the way it is, but men twins are evil, and women twins are...
Angels.
Not always, but I would say they can be angels or they can be evil too. I would say
Male twins, interesting.
The male twin is an unnerving phenomenon to encounter.
I think that's correct. I'm trying to think of the last male twins that I can think of, and I just think of Winklevi.
The Winklevi, who have pledged, according to the All In podcast interview with Donald Trump that I listened to last night, who have both pledged $1 million in Bitcoin to Donald Trump's campaign.
That's so mean.
I know. Well, I mean, hey, they'll just appreciate.
But in general, yeah, there was, all sorts of different people, a lot more young people, very multi-culty as well.
It's interesting because, so one thing that has been, written about a lot is that Donald Trump is gaining with like black people and or with POC in general, but with like I think black dudes in particular and like Latinos of all genders.
Yeah, he gave a shout out to Latinos that got a big cry from the crowd.
Which isn't surprising to I think a lot of people maybe who like write about politics in some way think that like that these racial categories are like always going to vote for Democrats, which just seems bizarre to me. Like if you've ever interacted with like many people from any race. It actually was way less black people than I thought it was going to be there, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah. Plus they had picked them all out from the audience and moved them right behind
I want to talk about
where
that.
the stage was.
Obviously I wanted to get behind Trump.
Yeah.
And like, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to get directly behind him, like in that spot. Cause I know they pick people, but I wanted to be in that section.
Because you just wanted to see the back of his head.
I just want to see the back of his head, but like, I also want to advertise the show on TV. I will say this: they did go through that crowd, and I think they picked out almost every black person they could find and just put them behind Trump. Which they do that at every political rally, right? Like that's not just like a Trump thing; they do that everywhere.
I wonder what Biden he'll pick. The youngest people,
babies. But yeah, and there was telling a ton of Latinos there.
Yeah,
like I would say of every like. The biggest besides just like white people was Latinos by far.
Yeah. There was the one Dominicans for Trump guy.
And I saw Indonesians for Trump as well.
Okay.
Down in the crowd.
Nice.
There was also I ran into twice former naval intelligence officer, I guess, and current but kind of fading star right-winger Jack Posobiec. Now,
I'm so old. I remember when we called him Jack Prelisek.
And I'm so old that I actually forgot that I think he once called me a terrorist.
Really?
On Twitter. Yeah.
When?
Like
For
specifically
why?
me. It's something to do with the Syria stuff. Like it was like I think it was I can't remember. Someone I sent a picture of him to reminded me, like a friend of mine, that I think it was maybe like in 2020 or something, like when that DHS shit came out.
Yeah.
I think it was like around that where he was like, I don't know if I think it was me. Maybe it was just like YPG people in general that came to America, but like,
that's not very nice. You should have reminded him.
I forgot
first
about
saw
it.
him when we were waiting in line, and then I took a photo of you guys, but it was so bad.
It wasn't your fault, Liz.
I think it was my
No,
fault.
you think it was your fault, but it was my fault because I'm doing like a weird thing with my head in it.
No, your head looked fine.
My head looked weird. I was doing a
think it was
liberal
my
neck
angle.
move.
Liberal. I don't think neck moves skew liberal or conservative.
I'll show you the picture after you're on Chomsky. You'll see what I'm talking about.
Okay.
This neck move was lib. I later ran into him by the bathroom.
Classic place where you'd run into him.
I did exactly. Loitering by the bathroom with a couple other guys, and I got another picture in there. Unfortunately, a very tall person took the picture, which makes us both look short. I mean,
How
I am
tall
short.
was he?
He's probably like 6'1", maybe.
Okay. Navy.
I don't know.
A lot of short cops there.
A lot of short cops, a lot of short people in general there, actually. It's what's interesting. New York has a lot of tall people because people move here to become taller. And like,
What?
if you walk around in fucking Manhattan, I'll say this, Liz. I've never in my life been like, I can't talk to this female. She's too tall. Until I came to New York, when I'm like, all these chicks are 6'5".
That's because of all the skyscrapers in the city.
I know they're trying to get to the top floor. Me, I'm trying to get further down.
Yeah. A lot of models around the city.
Exactly. There's too many models here.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's just a problem I have. But Philadelphia has no such problem. In fact, I would say quite the opposite.
Yeah.
I took some notes from the lobby. Can you actually read these notes out for me?
I don't
Liz?
think that is as good as if.
I think it'll be better if you read the notes. These are just
this
notes
says-
I took.
First of all, this is in bold because
They're all in bold.
Yeah, I don't know. You had to format it that way. Brace's lobby notes. They got a brother with Down syndrome marching around too. I don't know what the 2 is referring to.
I don't either.
Was there another?
Nope. That was it. It was completely. I'll show you the notes app.
Find sister in front of me in the line. I'm assuming that's the line for chicken strips.
It was actually the line to get you a little bottle of water.
Oh, yeah, that was
and
nice, thank
myself one. But it was in the line
And
to
you
get
got a
water.
soda.
I did get a Diet Coke as
Yeah,
well.
I
Yeah.
remember. I'm always clocking, always observant. The lack of insanely fat people leads me to believe that semaglutide has either got a generic or the obesity crisis is over. Well, I mean, there's compounded. You're talking about Wegovy.
All I know is the
Ozempic.
Subway ads, but the shit that makes you skinny for diabetics.
Yeah, but the generic, there's no generic, but there's the compounded version, which is where you would get it from your Hims.
That's what
or your hers.
Hims sells? I thought that was dick pills.
They've diversified.
Yeah, this is like they made a big move to start selling compounded.
You see, they
Ozempic.
cracked down on some of the online Adderall places.
Yeah, because there's a huge fucking lawsuit.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, there's a huge lawsuit about this.
Interesting.
Basically, a fucking pill mill online during COVID.
Yeah. Oh, there's tons of them.
Yeah, there's a I think a class action suit. Okay, here we go. Goth or transgender? Question mark. Woman spotted. I don't know what that is. A little
I don't know.
investigation you're doing over there.
Well,
What is-
I was
what's
just
going on?
like, I was like, huh.
Could be a both and.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know. That's why there's 2 question marks.
Woman in its okay to be white shirt. I'm going to add that part in because it was a shirt that said it's okay to be white, which was a sort of like throwback. Hadn't seen.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that slogan
And
in a while.
I pointed her out to you.
Yeah, and this is exactly what you said. You leaned over in my ear and said this. She's maybe half white or just completely Turkish.
I'm going to say this. I'm being generous with half white. If that woman was white, then I don't know what. Pigs can
Yeah.
fly. That woman was not white. I'm going to say this right now. This woman was not white. So maybe she's just a supporter.
I don't see
an
race,
ally.
but
I saw that one. I'll say this. I saw that one. I saw that right now. That right there is a Turk.
I have to say that one was my favorite, that it's okay to be white. But also we saw an LGBT : let God bless Trump.
Wow.
Which I thought was
That's
nice.
really good. So I took a picture of this, but I was too it's like too blurry for me to like I didn't send it to you or show it to you. But a guy wearing a backwards hat, a trucker hat that looks homemade that says "Make America Great Again" on X.
Oh, come
with
on.
like the X from the X formerly known as Twitter logo. And then he's wearing a t-shirt, rather tasteful jersey style t-shirt that says FJB really small, 47 I can't be bought underneath it. So FJB of course being fuck Joe Biden. I will say that the prevalence of FJB stuff at this I found to be I liked it. I'm like,
You
that's a
did?
good slogan to go with.
Fuck
yeah.
Joe Biden?
Yes, I think it's a really funny, like to have that as sort of just fuck Joe Biden be like
Yeah.
one of the unofficial campaign slogans you have. I think is really funny.
I mean, people are really running with it, and
Yeah.
it seems to, I think a lot of people, there's a lot of anger in the crowd,
Yes.
which we can talk about. And really, it's a real galvanizing kind of rallying cry. Fuck Joe Biden.
Yeah. So we ended up getting actually pretty good seats because Liz insisted we get there at 3 a.m. to set up lawn chairs outside.
We had line sitters. No, just kidding. We didn't get there at 3 a.m. We got there at 1 p.m. No, we got there at like 2 p.m. 3 p.m.
It's okay. The time thing is who's
They didn't
counting?
open the doors until 3. But then because of that, we got really good seats.
Yes.
And unfortunately, from then on, we had to wait for a very long time to see Trump because he didn't go on for 4 hours.
Very long time. and I got to thinking, I'd actually never been to like a main big, I've been to many political rallies before, but never one where it's like, I mean, it's like city council and shit like that. This, I will say, would have been a lot better if they'd had like a band or something, or like something to look at or something to do.
There was a playlist going that I have to say was just extremely weird. And I don't know how, like, it was like kind of like what I imagine. It's sort of like a niece's wedding music.
Interesting.
It's like what an aunt or uncle would be like, this is what I hope they play at my niece's wedding.
Yeah.
And so it was everything from like the sounds of silence and nothing compares to you to like hallelujah and like songs from Greece.
Yeah.
Moon River.
I think he's famously into like music, having musicals play, like songs.
Yeah,
play.
it's just like very weird music. Classic Journey, of course. You know, some Paul McCartney, but also like My Heart Will Go On, which was very weird. And you would just sort of be like catching it kind of drifting past you where you're just like, wait a second, am I listening to Celine Dion at a fucking Trump rally? Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Not computing. So that was weird. In general, like, I don't think we have to go through all of the people that he trotted out, like his like warm up, because it was pretty boring.
Well, I want to go with the first three because the first three weren't boring. I guess actually I don't really remember the order in which they trotted everyone out. I know they had Dan Muser, who was the guy that looked fucked up, right?
Yeah.
The congressman.
I have the note here, slimy, sweaty, so tan. Also, he's doing the shredder voice, like, rah.
Yeah.
But he also had crazy veneers, like horse cheeks. So he kind of had like a shrunken BoJack Horseman. But it's like if BoJack Horseman was, what's his name? Oh my God, George Stephanopoulos.
Yeah. Yes.
But
No.
like
exactly
super
that.
tan.
And he was like he kind of like was doing that like Trump style hand movement stuff too.
Everyone is trying to do Trump, and they're not Trump.
I will say this, just for in terms of our coverage, the sound in this place was the worst sound that I've ever witnessed or been subjected to at a live event in my life.
It was very bad. It was perfectly temperature controlled. Thank
Yes,
God.
it really was.
And yet, I think because of where we were sitting, there was no speaker that was like facing us.
I noticed that.
And so the audio, it was very hard to hear people.
Actually, I realized that there was one speaker facing us, Liz, and in fact, both us and then the other because you know it's like a
side.
oval style like auditorium thing.
Yeah, it was basically in a huge basketball court.
Yeah, and so like on where we were, which was like sitting basically side stage but a little in front of Trump, and on the other side, there was one tiny speaker that was set up next to the stage. Now, there was those big ass like things of speakers, like those rows of speakers on chains hanging from the ceiling, facing the rest of the arena.
Right.
But from where we were sitting, those were in front of us.
Yeah.
A little bit. So like the angle of that, so like you could hear everything, but everything was like kind of delayed. And if you weren't actively listening, which I do try to do.
Obviously, especially when there's women involved.
Especially when there's women involved, which there actually weren't speaking.
There was a couple women.
There were?
There was one.
Maybe I was getting my chicken strips.
Yeah, I think you might have been getting your chicken.
But they did bring out, I think, to open the entire thing up, they brought out a corpulent black preacher who strut the stage and spoke a little bit, but I couldn't really.
It was all kind of mumbly.
All
Some
kind
of that was also, I got to say, the Philly accent that's a tough nut to crack.
Yeah, but with women it sounds really good though. It's really hot.
Yo.
Then they brought out, listen, this is a no judgment zone, right? I have a shameful body, and so I do not body shame. They brought out a motherfucking dwarf veteran.
Wait, is this? I wrote his name. That his name was Ted Matcha-Latte.
Ted Matcha Latte was later.
Oh, okay.
Ted Matcha Latte was later. Ted Matcha Latte was a businessman. No, do you remember when they brought out like the three crazy looking fucking dudes? They brought like the fat black dude, the short, very short veteran, and then the opera singer.
Oh, the opera singer was really good.
The opera singer was good.
He did the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes. So, the
national anthem. Brace hates when I talk.
It's a different song. They had the dwarf do the Pledge of Allegiance. The dwarf did the Pledge of Allegiance.
I don't think that's correct. It's the little person did it.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, because I'm like, what fucking war did he fight in, dude? The Moria? He fought Smaug?
Well, there was one later on. There's a Senate candidate who said that he was a veteran of the Cold War.
Cold War? Like, okay.
And I was
cool.
like, what?
So he sat on a base in Germany?
Or like, what are you, Rambo?
The Cold War is a time period.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
like
you don't say a veteran of the Cold War.
Oh, yeah, I fought in the Cold War. Which part? Oh, the part where I drove it off my base in Germany.
Yeah.
A veteran of the Cold War?
No.
And he wasn't even that old, so it's like he
right.
was like a veteran of like 1987 Cold War.
Yes, he's just in the reserves.
Yes.
God, he sucks.
Well,
None of these guys are
the
stars.
opera singer I thought was pretty
Oh,
good.
he was great.
The opera singer was
That
pretty
was
good.
nice.
No one in the press section.
All sleepy. I said, press section looks sleepy.
It was crazy. They had the entire back.
They had so much space.
They had so much space.
What I would do with that space? They don't let us into the press section for a reason.
Because you know my shirt would be... In fact, I might take my shirt off right now if we're doing press.
First of all, it'd be stretched out like as if I had a whole row on an airline.
Oh, yeah.
And also, I'd be, making really crazy faces to Trump.
Well, that's the thing is Trump was facing directly the press section.
Yeah, so he could point to them and make fun of them.
I
Call
know,
them like
which-
lamestream media.
Yeah. But I'm like, if I was in the press, I'd be wagging my thing around, making them look at it and shit. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like,
Distracto.
but there was like no one there.
Yeah, it was kind of empty.
There was VIP down on the floor.
Yeah, that's where a lot of the booby ladies were.
Yeah, that's where a lot of booby ladies was, and that's also where I saw my favorite rapper, Forgiato Blow.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, disrespectfully was texting for much of the event.
I hate that.
So
Just
disrespectful.
put your phone away.
Unless maybe he was writing rhymes.
I did have my phone out, but only because I was recording and taking notes.
Yeah, I had my phone out because obviously I was watching Rick and Morty. So yeah, they had a bunch of openers. Dan Muser, the other fucking guy. They had Ted Matcha Latte come out.
I could not understand anything he said that I literally wrote down. He's the CEO of the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. I could not understand what he was saying.
I looked it up when I got home. Actually, on my long journey home, I looked it up. He's the CEO of a medical supply company called like Demify or something like that.
I don't know where
Never
I got
heard
that
of
one.
it.
There were a lot of medical supply CEOs actually, which was very weird. There was another one and he's like, I'm a factory owner. He looked like a pig man.
A pig man. A pig man. Half pig, half man.
I think he was a drunk.
I'll tell you this right now. A lot of people, I don't talk about this a lot on the podcast, but I'm sober. I had problems with drugs and alcohol in my earlier life. And I can tell when a motherfucker is bloated from liquor. And this fucking dude has got to be putting back like 3 or 4 bottles a day.
Yeah,
he was horrific looking.
Ready.
Oh,
He had the bulb nose a little bit.
Looking at
Budding bulb
him,
nose.
I was like, this must be what British people looked at Irish people like in like 1830. Like, I was just like, ugh, this fucking pale, even though they're both pale. Like, he was horrible to look at. And he gave a speech. I don't
know.
know.
This was
It
all bad.
Fucking no one in the audience cared.
Then after this guy was a man named, I swear to God, this is true, James Earl Jones.
The Emperor does not share your optimistic appraisal of the situation.
And
What?
it wasn't the James Earl Jones that you would think, but he was a bespeckled black man with a red bow tie with a matching pocket square.
I totally missed this guy.
You were getting chicken strips.
Which was a smart move.
No, you said that it hurt your stomach.
It did hurt my stomach, but then there was nothing to eat later when I got stranded.
But Brace forgot to mention that I brought veggie burgers for everyone.
Liz did bring veggie burgers for
And
everybody.
so we had veggie burgers before, so I was satiated.
We did. But
They were good, right?
You know what? They were good, and were much better than chicken strips, which were disgusting. But I will say this about my chicken strips thing: I didn't want to get them, but then
That
I
was
had
all the food that was there.
there was literally the only thing they had.
Everyone was eating chicken strips.
There were so many people eating chicken strips
with mustard.
That
This
was
like weird
they
mustard
were out
sauce.
Of, they were out of ketchup. They
Well, I don't
only
think
had
you
mustard.
You don't put ketchup on a chicken strip.
Well, mustard's your only option there, and you can put ketchup on a chicken strip.
Yeah.
That's normal. I'm not going to pretend like that's not normal.
I think ranch is with the chicken strip.
I don't eat ranch. I think ranch is gross.
Yeah, well, that's great.
Yeah, I listen. Don't talk about condiments.
So this guy, he was also a CEO of a company that I have no idea what it was, but was, I think, one of the more charismatic guys. And by that, I mean James Earl Jones, which is right there with the name. Mm-hmm. Then they bring on the guy running for Senate, whose name was Dave McCormick or something. I don't know. He was real loser energy.
He was pressed in the flesh in the chicken strip line too.
Really?
Yeah, he was walking around shaking hands.
This guy, I don't know. I mean, maybe sometimes Trump is able to kind of like give these guys a bump, but this guy was such a loser. Just to me, it's like wet blanket. I'm like, you have the most nasally voice. He sort of looks like Jon Favreau. Not like the actor, director guy, but like when he played the boyfriend of Monica on Friends way back in the 90s, he looked like that, but like an older version. All of these guys, I will say, even though they all had were pretty like lame in their own ways and in different ways, they all kind of hammered the same thing, which was inflation, inflation, inflation. Like all of them, and this is kind of a warm up for Trump because he spent a lot of time on inflation, but all they were talking about was inflation. Like, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? Which is always a great, for the guy running, especially when the economy is what it is. But, talking about mortgage payments, talking about grocery bills, talking about, the price of everything and paychecks, and they were just hammering. It was that, and then immigration. Those were the two big things.
I would say, I didn't see this guy, but I would say that those were. I also picked up those as a major thing, and crime.
Yeah. He did say, and this I was very confused by this. I had to look it up, but he was like, I went to the border at 2 a.m. and I saw 50 people walk across. They just let them walk across. There were military men from Syria letting in Chinese men. And I was like, what? I just have a lot of questions.
So I think what he probably meant by that, and because this is something that they say, this is also, if you hear anyone talk like this, that they're a real fucking psycho. They'll describe adult men as military-aged men. Now, that is anybody from like 16 to, I'm going to say like 45. But they say military-aged men. Now, the implication behind all of this, because Trump has been bringing it up a lot too. It's funny. The Chinese thing I feel like is new. They've always been talking about how like there's Middle Easterners sneaking in with the Mexicans like across the border.
Yeah.
They started talking about Chinese guys in the same way. That they are military age, what the implication is that, like, I guess for the Arabs that they're going to do like a terrorist attack or something. And with the Chinese guys, this is the funny thing, like that they're going to somehow form like a secret army here.
Right.
And like have like a
sleeper cells.
like a division in America.
Yeah. This all ties in with the reports that they're really hammering, which was that, some people on the terror watch list that they say have affiliations with the Islamic State, whatever that means, came over through the southern border. And it was like guys from Tajikistan or whatever. And there was a whole thing that they, arrested a bunch of these guys.
I feel like I remember something like that. But
yeah, no, that was, I think, like not that long ago, like last month or earlier in the month. And so they really like, hammering this home as terrorists are coming in through the southern border. And, this is what they're kind of really, and the crowd really loved it. He also brought up, and I got to say, little local color, really, they brought up fentanyl a lot.
Yeah.
His hammering home, we've got 100,000 deaths from fentanyl, and the crowd was all over that. I mean, I know we were right by Kensington, but there were a lot of people. I mean, even during Trump's speech, which we will get to, but there was a moment where a woman from the crowd like shouted out about fentanyl, and Trump, was immediate and responded right to her. We'll talk about it. Yeah. But it was very, very much like, in the context of people are dying from fentanyl, why aren't we doing anything about this? Yeah.
That was a major theme there too, and it's interesting because it's like there wasn't any kind of like solution proffered. I'm not really sure what solution anybody has for it. That they're saying they're going to do or whatever, but like, yeah, it was just kind of bringing it up as it's this other force in society, which is it's true. Fentanyl's everywhere now.
Yeah. This guy was kind of a loser. All of this is just like you're like waiting. You're like, come on,
bring on Trump.
Bring on Trump. There was, finally this guy left, and I don't know. We had like we were waiting around for like another hour or so.
Yeah, I just went around and walked around and like tried to talk to people and did talk to people in the lobby.
Yeah.
I think we should describe who we're sitting around. Mm-hmm. So in front of us are twins, these two blonde twins.
Yeah, in MAGA hats and matching outfits.
Next to them were these two, I guess, Russian girls.
Possibly.
They were certainly texting in Cyrillic. And then behind us were two, I'm going to say unpleasant-looking young men. The ones on the aisle.
Oh, yeah. Those guys were really funny, though, because they kept talking about the Caruso trade for Giddy. And they're like, no way Giddy is like you could trade Giddy straight up for Caruso. And I was like, yeah, man, that's true.
You should have talked to them.
I didn't want to interrupt. They were having a conversation.
And then there was an empty seat, which became filled in a second, that people kept trying to sit in because it was filling up at this point.
Yeah.
And
the crazy Phyllis Schlafly ladies were like pointing and like seating everybody.
Yes. Yeah. They were really taking
Little
charge.
angels of death.
But the two guys, like the Caruso brothers, I felt kind of bad for them because they had to keep telling people like, no, there's someone sitting there. But like they clearly didn't know the guy that was sitting there, but he had left his hat and his water bottle there. Oh, and then there was like a 12-year-old, 13-year-old kid, and then like some like, I don't know, his dad or whatever, older brother maybe.
There was
to
the
him.
befested man.
Well, then further down there was Peter Griffin.
Yeah.
Wearing a vest.
He
Yeah.
did.
I mean, I'm just gonna be real. The guy looked like Peter fucking Griffin, and he was wearing a
Silver vest.
silver vest,
With
a
a black
silverback.
back.
With a black back, and
Over a shirt.
over. It certainly was over his shirt. Yeah, it would have been weirder if it wasn't over his shirt.
Well, but I would have understood because it was warm
It
out.
was warm out. But yeah, he was wearing the vest, and I think he was, he was wearing matching pants as well. If he possibly had taken the suit jacket
A
off.
lot of people dressed up.
A lot of people dressed up. There was down beneath us the Phyllis Schlafly ladies, and then like some frat guys, and then just like
A lot of like frat barstooly guys with like the Hawaiian shirt over
Yeah.
their t-shirt, kind of like, oh, I'm cool, dude. You know, I
Yeah,
got a mustache
yeah.
and I wear a hat. you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. A few like I saw in the lobby a few tweakers. Like I'm just gonna be real. Those were I saw.
Yeah.
I-
Well,
I-
there's AC.
I full on saw a guy nodding out too.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a free event and there was AC, and he definitely was not in the event. He was looking at his phone, sitting down on the ground outside the bathroom, but he was like on the knot. He was like fentanyl style. But right before Trump comes back, a gentleman joins us who will be with us for the remainder of the event. I would say he was maybe 5'4" in every way.
Spiritually, very much so.
He had I think a shirt said, I think it said like Jews for Trump or something. It was something like Jewish warriors for Trump. It was like something I'd never seen before. I don't know why, but I didn't take a picture of it. He was very agitated and explained to the people who did not ask on either side of him what he had been doing, which was he was arguing with the, I believe, SEIU sponsored counter protest outside. He's like, I've been out there fucking yelling at those fucking libtards. He had the demeanor of a man who you're going to see on the news one day in a bad way.
Yeah.
And a yarmulke with a picture of Donald Trump's face on it. And so this guy is now behind us. And the music starts like swelling up a little bit.
Okay. So
Welling up.
It was like, I mean, I was like, okay, what is his walk-on music going to be? Like, I was so excited because I was like, God, Trump is going to do something really good. He's got to do something really good, really creative, right? And it was like, my heart will go on. And I was like, there's no way it would be this. Like, that would be so crazy. But the crowd, like, suddenly the VIP section starts getting full, which means they know that he's going to come out soon. And I got to say, it was like, basically right on the dot at 7.
I did think it was going to be, I was kind of like talking to other people. I'm like, does he usually come out on time? Like sometimes he's late,
Yeah.
And so I was like, fuck, what if it's like 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock that he actually
But
comes
no,
out?
right on time.
On the dot.
They did go into YMCA,
It's fun to stay at the
which I appreciated.
They did. And
Because
people-
I wanted that moment.
It's interesting because I thought more people would be doing it.
They were really kind of doing the Trump dance.
People were doing the Trump dance more, but like I expected more. There was definitely a lot of people doing the YMCA
Yeah.
or
See
whatever.
what I mean about
Yeah.
a niece's wedding
Yes.
playlist? It's very weird.
But I would say maybe like a sixth of the crowd was doing it. It was
Yeah.
not what you'd expect.
It was a lot of excitement in the air. A lot of maybe like too early, like USA, USA.
Yeah.
Everyone trying to like cheer, and then suddenly it builds, and then suddenly Trump's walking out.
Donald J. Trump.
Donald Trump. And it's the I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free.
And I won't forget the men who died.
Come on, that's so like
I know.
Marco Rubio.
It's like it's. But I realized I was thinking. I was like, I wonder if Trump listens to music. Like, I bet he does listen to like the Grease soundtrack. You know what I
He
mean?
listens to music.
So he talked about Phantom of the Opera.
Exactly. Like yeah, he does. He's like he likes Fan of the Opera.
Yeah,
Like
that
that's
That is
like
very Trump. He would be.
It just
fucking,
defies.
Yeah.
I don't
What
know
would your walk-on music be?
Oh, got to be RBL Posse Ding Dong,
Okay.
which we can play right here.
This goes to the bitches that's hanging from my ding dong. My ding dong.
What would yours be?
Part of me wants to say Firestarter. Because that's a classic.
That would be good.
But I think I'm going to go even more classico, and I'm going to say the old Chicago Bulls music is that's the one that gets you. That one gets the goosebumps a-going when they hear that. Because as people know, I am the Michael Jordan of, female podcasters.
That is fucking true. Only in terms of roll the dice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Liz bets on everything. Seriously, I would probably do Cowboy Song by Thin Lizzy.
I am just a cowboy.
That's the song. But he came out and he kind of did his thing. Yeah, they got to do this. He walks to each section and kind of Trump is so weird.
He just kind of like stands there.
there.
But people are losing it. It is like the fucking Beatle. It is Beatlemania for MAGA people.
I will say this.
People are like, ah! Like crying, screaming, like ripping their clothes off.
People-
Like they are psychotic.
You know how like when you like, it's like the Elvis thing. You know,
Yes.
you're like, you chicks are like, going spazzing out for Elvis like that. I mean, Elvis is great. Don't get me wrong, but like, I'm not gonna have a seizure.
Yeah. It was a bit like Pentecostal feeling. In
Or
there.
or like Hitler, right?
Sure.
Like, you always see these things like, oh, Hitler, magnetic, and then people are like, Hitler, and then he talks, and he's like, it's like, whoa, okay, all right, buddy.
But also it had a tinge of like kind of British hooliganism.
Yeah, it was like that thing too, where they
It's a
go
little
crazy,
Man
they see
City
their guys
craziness.
come out, and I just I guess I don't love anything because
Could
I'm
be.
like, I don't know what
Maybe
would
you're
give me
dead
this
inside.
reaction.
Maybe.
Well, the ketamine obviously
Sure.
depersonalized.
I will say that like we were pretty close.
Yeah.
And so when I saw him, I was like, part of it, I was like, oh shit, that's Donald Trump. That's fucking crazy. And you do see, like, for as weird as he stands and walks and kind of like carries himself, he's got the star power.
He's got the star power.
It is undeniable. And when you're in the atmosphere with all these people like losing your mind, like you do get caught up in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's like and as we'll go through this, like one of the big things that I, walked away with was that like the man is a conductor. Like he is really good at playing the crowd.
Yeah.
And he had everybody on a string. Like he could, and I mean, I guess he did, at one point 4 years ago, or almost 4 years ago, whip everybody up and say, oh, I want you to do this. And they would go do
for
it.
sure. Yeah.
But like he was fucking playing the crowd and it was impressive to watch.
Yeah, it really was. I mean,
Yeah.
it was obviously this is like about as receptive of a crowd as you could find for somebody. These people had waited in line for hours to see
Yeah.
him. But like, I had never, like I said before, like I've seen a lot of MAGA people, and I've talked to a lot of MAGA people. I've been to a lot of MAGA stuff. I've never seen them see him, and seeing them see him was crazy.
And
like
then seeing him see you.
seeing him, yeah, because he did look at me and he pointed at me. He said, he mouthed, maybe VP, and I said, I demurred. But people really were going like like they were ecstatic.
Yeah.
It was a feeling of ecstasy that people had.
Yeah, I mean, really just, and I hope people listening to this aren't, dumb enough to think that I'm saying this as like in a way that's, I'm like super praising him, but I'm just trying to, it's hard to imagine. We're going to go to some Biden events, as the year goes on or the election season goes on. Well, we're going to see what we can go to because it's hard to imagine this on the Democrat side. Like the thing I can compare it to is like the passion I saw from people for Obama, who was an incredibly charismatic speaker, obviously, and was a really, really, really good at commanding crowds. Yeah. Especially during that first campaign season. But this is, and Trump has that same sort of ability to kind of, inspire. I mean, people were really paying attention to what he was listening to.
I'll say this,
what he was saying.
I'll say this about the Obama, because I think that is the fairest comparison to a Democrat. Mm-hmm. Like Obama is can give a good speech in a way, but he doesn't have the same Trump really does have just raw charisma. Yeah. In a way that really was notable in person. Yeah. That doesn't I think it's come singular. Across yeah, for sure. But I don't think it comes across on video as well either.
Yeah, absolutely.
And obviously a large part of this is you're in a crowd of people who love this guy, who are hanging on to his every word. He is their political idol. There were literally everybody there was wearing Trump merch. It was
including you.
Well, yeah, I guess including me.
In your way.
And in my way. But he really was. I think part of his ability to do that, and I think the reason that there isn't much of a comparison, even with somewhat comparable people like Obama or whatever, is that Trump can riff an actual a showman. Well, and there isn't a showman like that. I mean,
it's true.
Everyone knows this, but seeing it live, I was this reminds me of I unfortunately have been to a lot of comedy shows, right? And it's you go to a comedy show and most of the time it's and then sometimes there's someone who just goes on stage and it's obviously they're doing their jokes, but they're really you can they're commanding the crowd in this way. That's really the closest thing I can point it to. No political event that I've been to comes close.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people, especially people, in the lamestream liberal media, they don't want to remind everyone, but it's the man has been on TV for 15, 20 years. Yeah. And not just that, but every day. And before he did this, he was at some prayer lunch in the morning in DC or brunch in the morning. And then Trump. He did he did the sandwich shop and then he comes here. He's doing these events. He's on the campaign trail. And it's funny because I was at a thing the other night and with a bunch of, I don't know how you can say it, liberal, Democrat, middle class kind of people. Mm-hmm. And I was telling them about going to the Trump rally, which of course they all were I was it's for work. And they go, oh, which is very funny. But they were oh, was he coherent? And I was was he coherent? Are you kidding?
He was so coherent.
And he's I realized these people see clips of him on CNN or MSNBC or Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever people are looking at. And they're just oh God, he's not making any sense. But I have to say the man makes perfect sense when you listen to him talk. It's just that his riffs are all in context, and he's kind of doing a performance a little bit.
It's funny. I completely obviously Trump has just said he has a lot of weird he's an insane person. Obviously, he thinks a lot of crazy shit. I'm not talking about his politics. I'm saying the battery thing or
about we all have an internal battery.
Yeah, or the shark thing and stuff like that. He's got a lot of.
What's his shark thing?
It's you're on a boat that's sinking and there's the battery. You would rather get electrocuted by the battery or eaten by the shark.
And he would rather get electrocuted.
Interesting.
No, it's beyond that. He hates sharks in he's brought it up multiple times.
Interesting.
He hates sharks. He doesn't donate to shark things.
Fear of sharks, we should all be very. It's I think a good, healthy fear of sharks.
No, Liz, it's not a fear of sharks, although obviously that plays into it. And many hatreds are
ancient.
really just fears
They're
of
older than us.
No, he hates sharks. I think there's a distinction there.
He hates them.
He actively feels enmity towards sharks rather than a healthy fear of sharks.
I wonder what that's from.
I don't know. I mean, obviously something. But yeah, he was. They had like the little teleprompters there.
Oh yeah, the little clear ones.
Yeah, and like it was funny because it was so apparent when he was reading off of those.
Yeah.
And then he would just go off script for like a while.
Yeah, I mean the man went for like a whole hour and a half.
Yeah, he did.
And he could have gone for longer. I think he probably would have if it was a bigger crowd. I would say, how many people do you think were there?
Well, the place sat in toto 10,000. There were definitely. It's hard to gauge because like there was multiple sections there was no one in.
Yeah, like on the way top.
On the way top, and then also the press section. But then there was also people on the floor. So I don't know, like 7,000, just guessing, but I have no idea.
Yeah, so it was a good size.
There was definitely a lot of people there. I will say this, I am somebody who has, I'm totally neutral on the issue of what our form of government should be, right? No opinion. But I do believe that when you vote for something, that vote should count for something. Right. And I think that somebody who has made much ado about what he views as a crooked election in 2020, himself rigging a vote in front of my eyes, does not bode well for how Trump is going to treat this country if he gets into the White House. Very early on in this display, Trump asked the crowd a very simple question about a choice of nicknames for what he should call Joseph Robinette Biden, the current president of the United States.
Yeah.
And it was a vote, obviously not super precise, but it was like a voice vote, right? Whichever's the loudest cheer, that's what I'll go with. He gave us two options: Crooked Biden or Sleepy Joe. And I got to tell you.
Wait, it was Crooked Joe.
Crooked Joe or Sleepy Joe.
Yeah.
Crooked or Sleepy Joe. Yeah.
Yeah, Crooked Joe, Sleepy Joe.
Sleepy Joe, runaway victory.
It's so good.
It's so good. And the crowd knew it.
And it's old.
And
it's been with us
everybody
for quite some time.
Everybody went, Sleepy Joe, Sleepy Joe, Sleepy Joe. They loved it. Trump says, Sleepy Joe. Okay, I'll go with Sleepy Joe. I'll call him Sleepy Joe.
Yeah.
But 2 seconds later, he says, but I like Crooked Joe.
Well, he does what he wants.
I like Crooked Joe because I took it from Hillary. Now I call her Beautiful Hillary, which was so funny.
Yeah, he's been doing that one.
But I'll say this. We voted for fucking Sleepy Joe at this.
Yeah.
And then he just goes right back, overrides. Why even ask the question?
But that's classic Trump. It was like just like 2 weeks ago or last week, Trump was like in some interview and he was like, I think anyone who graduates from a community college or any college should get a green card.
Yeah, yeah.
And all of the tech companies were like, really? Wait, this is very exciting.
Yeah.
Like, we love this idea because obviously. And then all of the conservatives started freaking out because they're like, wait, but what about immigration? And I mean, there's no way you could do that. But he just says shit. And then day one, it's like, that's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. So what did he talk about?
Well, one of the biggest things that he really hammered home, and it was on the in stadiums they have the
cryon.
The cryon, but that's going around, and it said no tax on tips. Vote Trump, no tax on tips. And man, people are really excited about this one. He wants to eliminate federal taxes on tips for service workers. I think the way it would work is that all tips would be 100% tax deductible. That's how that would work. And he announced this a couple weeks ago. And, he has a whole bit where he's like, so on your receipt, when you're signing it at the end of dinner, before you're allowing all of the, terrible toxins to go in through your,
I make the female sign it because she's paying.
Right, vote Trump for no tax on tips. And it's so funny. I was talking to I got my hair cut this morning, and which neither of you saw anything about.
I noted. I know. I texted the group chat about it. Mm-hmm. Oh, not the one with you in it.
Yeah. And I was talking about it with the guy who cuts my hair, and he was like, I'm not gonna fucking vote for Trump, but I'm not gonna lie, I like the sound of that with the tip thing. It was like, man, you were really going after. This is what Trump does.
Well, it's funny. So listen, my last tip job I had was flower shop, and we often did not get tips, even if I did a really fucking good job. But we only accepted cash tips.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if you tip, like when they flip the little thing back on you and they're like, fucking do this. They tax that. And I guess that would be popular.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Of
course.
I will say this. I carry cash, unlike a lot of you young people out there. I always carry cash. And so I always tip in cash because I do know that. But it's funny because that seemed to me very like, you know, when Biden, something bad happens and he's like, oh, we're going to make weed. We're going to like, they do a weed announcement. Mm-hmm. They've done like 5 weed announcements since Gaza started. Like every time there's like a new casualty figure out, he's like, oh, like 5, we're releasing 5 people from federal probation over weed charges or whatever. It seemed very much like that where I'm like, this is just like, but smarter. I'm like, this seems like one of those things that like, if I was Biden, I would just do it now.
Well, it's funny because I think Ted Cruz introduced the bill in the Senate. So they are really trying to move forward with it in order to really get, I mean, you know, they're going after a certain sector of the vote. But yeah, so he was really hammering that home. The other one, and you know, we talked about it a little bit, but was inflation. He went after it real hard, and I got to say, it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
In his Trump way. He started talking about how the prices of things are so expensive. He's like, you know, the price of eggs and bacon, it's too expensive. I don't even buy bacon anymore. It's too expensive. And then he goes, you know, and I said, I'd love to have some bacon, darling. But she said, no, I'm sorry, we can't. It's too expensive. And he's doing a whole riff about how expensive bacon is, as if Trump buys bacon. But it plays.
It plays. And like, there's this arch way that he's saying it where you're like, you know, he doesn't buy bacon and you know he can afford bacon.
And he knows that we know. I mean, it's always a little wink and a nod, and we're all in on the joke. And that's part of the allure with Trump.
Yeah, no, it was funny. I watched him on the All In podcast featuring Liz Franzak. It's the other show
I can't believe that show is still going.
It's it's those guys. I've watched like multiple episodes.
Are they still in the arena doing stuff? Or?
They're still the men in the arena doing stuff. These are the builders, the makers, the doers that are getting pushing our nature that are pushing our nation forward and our nature. And Trump does this riff because he's talking about crime, and they're really trying to like, because you know these are all like guys that also want to talk, and so they're like really also trying to interject, but he's just going. And at one point he goes into this like I would say long reverie about drugstores. You know, like every drugstore you go into now, like CVS or whatever, everything's locked up.
Yeah,
and you have to like press the button and then no one comes because there's also no one that works them. Because they fired everyone and replaced them with machines.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, like you go into a drugstore these days, and then he just stops and reminds everybody multiple times that he doesn't go to drugstores. He's like, you know, I don't go to drugstores very often, but you know, I used to like to go walk around drugstores, department stores. And it's like, okay, that's just completely different things. But
I feel like because he's so old, he's thinking of like old timey,
yes,
like he would go to like Zittimer and be like, I'm in the department store pharmacy.
He's in like the furniture section of the department store, and but he's talking about it, all that stuff being locked up, which is like, I will say like that is kind of smart because like that is like I think one of the main things that an average person comes into contact day to day with is like the fact that it takes 45 minutes to get a fucking tube of toothpaste now.
Yeah.
And you end up just buying the cheap Walgreens branded ones that they don't lock up. And I think that they should make a law where you either lock up all of it or none of it. Because I think it's all a scam to get you to buy the Walgreens.
I like this idea.
I do think it is. They always know. I'm not even joking.
I like when you have theories.
Oh no, but I go to the drugstore all the time.
You're the opposite of Trump.
Yeah, I buy it because I drink bleach. I drink it a little bit every day to build up fucking tolerance, Liz.
Well, like that, it is like Trump.
It is, yeah. So I go to the drugstore and I see, oh, interesting. All of the good fucking, I'll say this, all the good stuff for my acid reflux that I get sometimes when I'm really stressed out is locked up, but the Walgreens branded version is fucking right there on the shelves for the taking. Right there on the motherfucking shelves.
That's why you're drinking the bleach, because this real stuff you got to drink is all locked up.
It's all locked up.
All they can give you is bleach to drink.
Yes. And
Brandon's America.
And so I'll just say this. I'm like, that is a smart thing to bring up.
Yeah, he had a lot of, I don't know how else, like, you know, kitchen table issues. And it's always like the toothbrushes are locked up and bacon is too expensive.
Yeah.
And the people couldn't get enough.
Yeah, people were going crazy for it.
The other, I will say before we get into the immigration stuff, because I think we should spend some time talking about that.
Definitely.
The other, he didn't really mention foreign policy very much. Israel, zero.
I will say, this is, I'm sure, much to the chagrin of the beyamicled gentleman who was spazzing out behind us.
And then later spazzing out in front of us.
In front of us, yeah. I believe he was forced to move
closer.
possibly because just to move closer to Trump, but also I think he was kind of freaking out, the little kid.
Yeah. Well, he was,
But he did not mention Israel a single time.
Yeah.
I think he might have, and don't quote me on this, even though I'm saying it on a podcast. I believe he might have made a vague allusion to things in the Middle East.
Yeah. No, yeah, he did. I mean, he was like, things are a mess with Biden. Or, I mean, actually, it wasn't that. It was that one of his big things is that, we're a laughingstock to the world.
Yes.
No one takes us seriously. We've got this quagmire, this mess in the Middle East. We've got this stupid stuff in Ukraine.
Yeah.
Like, it was like that, but it was nothing to do with any like foreign policy, really.
It did not say the word Israel, no mention of any of that stuff.
And the one kind of vague allusion to any sort of like foreign affairs stuff that he talked about is he said, I'm basically like, I'm the one that's going to prevent World War III.
Yeah.
This was an interesting talking point. So he basically was like, we are on the verge of World War III.
Yes, he said that. Yeah.
Like, there's like psychos in the State Department. There's psychos in NATO. Trump has his whole NATO. Remember when he was president, he wanted to like pull out of NATO.
Well, I will say, I do think that he was doing
someone's
that.
Someone's going to get you before you can do that.
I think he was doing an art of the deal to get them to pay more, and it did
because
work.
he was like the U.S. pays way too much to everyone else, and we're getting nothing out of this.
Well, he's right on that.
I mean, it's very Trump.
Yeah.
But and so he's basically like, all these people are going to start World War III. It's absolute chaos in there. It's craziness. I'm the only one who can stop it. And this seems to be kind of like picking up some steam as a kind of right-wing talking point.
Well, it's interesting because Trump had always sort of like advertised himself as the anti-war candidate.
Yeah.
Which is weird because it doesn't seem to be that big a difference in many ways between him and like obviously they have different foreign policy goals, but like Trump killed Qasem Soleimani, right?
Yeah.
Which gave us COVID-19. Mm-hmm. That's my theory on that.
It was expelled from his.
I just think it was like a spiritual retribution thing. Like,
it was like, when it was like kind of like ectoplasm that came out of his body when he died, but that it was just COVID.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
But like it is
kind of lab leak.
It is funny because like, he can point to like Biden's disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, which he did. He talked about that. He brought up the Gold Star families or whatever in the front row.
Kind of laughing stock stuff.
Yeah, as part of that thing. And then and he talked a lot about how we should have flown out of Bagram Air Base instead of the airport in Kabul or whatever.
I love when he gets specific about this like one thing that everyone else forgot, but he's just like, this was so dumb.
Yeah.
He always points to this one little thing.
People are still really pissed about the Afghanistan thing. I actually heard someone talking about it in the lobby before he went on. It's like, all right. But yeah, like he was definitely in no specific way, but he was like, I will prevent World War III. Like I blah, blah, blah. It's interesting though, because like, I mean, listen, all I can go on is history, but he filled his entire first cabinet with people whose like basically number one goal in life was to nuke Iran.
Yeah.
And, his son-in-law is Jared Kushner, obviously very close with the Israeli top leadership. Not only that, but like the settlement movement.
Yeah. And like the Saudis and the UAE.
Exactly. But Trump's alignment in the foreign policy zone in the Middle East is definitely with the, I mean, not like Biden's isn't, but like much more so even than Biden's in the anti-Iran axis. And so like, I mean, I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like we would probably, the World War III thing just seems like a weird shibboleth.
Well, it's just a talking point. I mean, I think your point about them being very similar on a lot of stuff is very true, which is also, I think, part of the reason, even though people may not realize it, why they're gravitating towards third-party candidates. But you see that especially with China and China policy. Like, that's really just a continuum and the same orientation, if not more. I mean, Biden just passed like another round of tariffs on China, and part of it was just doubling up the old Trump ones. So it's it's kind of the same orientation because whatever continuum there is in the other bureaucratic institutions in this great nation between the two administrations. Obviously, there's the recognition and realization that China is it's the year of the dragon.
It's the motherfucking goat. It's the motherfucking goat. China is we rock with it.
But yeah, they're just, you really see it very clear there.
Yeah. It's funny. Like, I do actually think that like Trump maybe will cut off weapons to Ukraine. I could see that happening. But I can't remember actually if it was when we saw him or it was another interview I read with him. The way that he was describing, he's like, actually, I just want the Europeans to give them more. It was like the same thing with the NATO thing. He's like, I mean, so I have no idea. It's kind of impossible to predict this stuff. One thing that, speaking of China, he has been very clear on. So the thing about like 40,000, like a division of Chinese military age men, that comes from like a thing that Trump's been saying a lot too. And that his entire section on like, it was funny. There was kind of a jubilant, jokey mood during much of it. Mm-hmm. And then when he got to the parts about migrants, the crowd took a dark motherfucking turn.
Yeah, I mean, this was so the gentleman who was behind us in the Donald Trump yarmulke, the big yarmulke man, who then moved in front of us, and it was especially during this section, the section on immigration and migrants and the 20 million illegal aliens that he says he's going to deport on the day one of his term. The guy in front of us starts going into like Pentecostal shakes.
I genuinely never seen
anything like this. And I remember seeing him and being like, oh, this guy's a fucking fascist. Like, I have never, like, it's been a while since I've been in any kind of, I don't know, like seeing people like this, but he was shaking and like he was like, yeah, fuck yeah, get them, like screaming. Get them.
And it was like beyond, it was like through clenched teeth.
Yes, like he was physically shaking. He was like, there was like tears coming out of, like, he was sweating. He was like spittling. He was clenching. I have never seen anything, and he just like couldn't. It was like holy Pentecostal, like he was feeling the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit was the fucking DHS.
It was crazy. When he sat in front of us, I think I told you about this afterwards. I like lapsed into this like 20-minute long like just, I guess, I don't know, reverie or whatever I went into.
You're loving
that
word lately.
I know. Well, there's been a lot of it's been in the air, but nice. I thought about it. I was like, I would execute this guy. Like, I'm like, I was like thinking about it. I was like, if there was some situation in my life where like I had
we were in the movie Civil War.
Yeah. Oh God. I saw it. It was horrible. Oh God.
I can't do that one.
I mean, I knew it was going to be stupid. I don't care about that. It was just a bad movie.
I hate a bad action movie.
I know.
Because a good bad action movie is so good.
There was like one good action scene, but it was just what a waste. But I was just like, fuck, dude. Like, this is one of those guys that you just kind of got to like smoke. Like, like there's like, I don't know, man. He was psychotic.
Yeah, there was. I mean, there's, even when we were talking to the like friendlier MAGA people or friendly MAGA people, like the women that we were in line with or whatever, like you could see something, you'd be like, you're really nice and like very friendly. Like, how did you, it was kind of sad, because you would be like, what happened so you got here? And you know that there's like a terrible story there. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's like just either may or may not involve the internet or not, may not, but it then would involve some sort of like tragedy in the family or work or just something that's like just a sad story. Yeah. Right? A guy like this, I have absolutely no desire. I'm just like...
There's a soul sickness.
There is. And it was really, really it was really scary to see. It was really, really scary, especially like... watching him get so fucking jacked, hearing the kind of shit that Trump was saying. And when I say that, I mean like, so this whole like migrant section, what do you call it? The migrant movement, you knew he was going to hit on it, but I was not prepared for him hitting on it in such a way that was like, kind of like page 6-y. Yeah. Where he basically was like, I think I have a quote here from it. Day after day, week after week, Joe Biden is releasing illegal criminals into our communities to rape, pillage, plunder, and to kill. Just this week, a 12-year-old girl in Houston was tied up, stripped, and strangled to death after walking into a 7-Eleven. Charged with her heinous murder are 2 illegal savages that Joe Biden recently let loose into our country. They came across our border claiming they feared for their lives in Venezuela. So he had like 3 or 4 or 5 even stories like that were actually in pretty graphic detail about like the like rape of children that he said was done by illegal immigrants. And it was just this like very, I mean, I don't know what to say, like classic, cliched almost fascist rhetoric about like heinous crimes being done to innocent angels.
Yeah.
You know?
It's the same, like, I mean, it's kind of boilerplate on in terms of that kind of stuff, because it's like it's the same that Geertz of Wilders does.
Yeah.
Same like Maloney. Well, not anymore. I don't know.
No, Maloney's now the darling of the Economist. Yeah, they love her.
But yeah, it was interesting because that was like you could tell that he was also really on the teleprompter for a lot of this too, because he started doing crime stats.
Yeah.
And his whole thing too, I didn't really understand this. He was talking about how like the FBI crime stats that came out are not true, because I guess there's been like there's a huge uptick in murders in like 2020 or whatever, and there's been like crime since then and various kinds. And then there's been like a downturn, I think, in some violent crimes in the past year. He's like, the FBI statistics, like they're lying. Because there needs to be a new category called migrant crime. Now that I really just did not understand, because I'm like, what does that mean? What is a migrant crime? Like
crimes committed by
I know,
immigrants?
but like, is that everything from shoplifting to
Probably.
murder, or like because technically being an illegal migrant is a crime. Because it's you crossed here illegally. But I was reading that Time interview that he did like a few months back, and he's talking because he mentioned several times like we're gonna deport everybody like day one.
Yeah, he says 20 million people.
20 million people,
Which I think the Chamber of Commerce might have something to say about that.
Yeah. And he talks about in the Time interview, he's talking about that, and he's comparing it to Eisenhower's thing. I think it was Eisenhower, right? Like when they just like threw everyone on the other side of the border. They just like drove people to Mexico and just dropped them off. But he's talking about deploying the military, and he's kind of hedges and be like, when I'm talking about military, I'm mostly talking about the National Guard. I don't know what that means. But he does mention like that he keeps saying the military, and the Time magazine guys like you can't do that. Like the Posse Comitatus Act says, the Posse Comitatus Act says you can't deploy the U.S. military against civilians. Would you override that? And then Trump says, well, these aren't civilians. These are people that aren't legally in our country. This is an invasion of our country.
Yeah.
And I
see the kind of legal logic that he's lining up.
Yeah, definitely. And I just, and that to me, I felt like I hadn't read that interview when we saw the speech, but like I got that vibe there.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. It was like mass roundups, which is using, he talks about how he's like wants to use local law enforcement, like something like logistically on that level, you can't do that.
Well, even like if that ever could beyond the realities and legal realities of the situation, like the crowd was fucking loving it.
Yeah.
Like they really were the shouting, the crying, the cheering, the chanting when he was going through all of this stuff was like no other section.
Yeah.
During the speech.
Yeah, I think the only other thing was at one point like he makes a comment about transgender like students or whatever, and people went crazy for that. But like this was the thing that he like harped on for like a while in a section, and people were like standing up, and it was interesting because there was like the psycho guy behind us, and like everyone was like pretty like animated towards it.
There's a guy like across from us.
I was gonna say like every so often there was like somebody you were like something going on with that.
Yeah.
That guy right there.
Yeah, that guy had like 5 never surrender signs.
Yeah.
And was a little it looked like he had a son with him, but yeah, he looked a little Waco.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was just like it's people who get like, whether it's a combination I assume of like belief, but also like that ecstasy of the moment, like that connection between those two, and like creates this, it makes people go insane. And like, that's kind of what we saw with those kind of guys in the crowd. It was dark. One thing that he talked about a lot too was the upcoming debate, which actually is going to be the night that this podcast comes out.
Yeah.
It's coming out on Thursday.
It's at 9 p.m., which feels really late.
It's at 9. It's funny. I
go to bed early, man. I'm literally
9 p.m.
No, but I go to bed at I like to get in bed before 11.
Like you go to bed at 10:30 sometimes?
Sometimes.
That's
I
respect.
prefer. I like to read in bed and then I fall asleep.
Yeah. I do too, but
I also wake up really early.
yeah, that's true. So do I, but I don't fall asleep early. So it's happening tonight. Mm-hmm. And
which is actually not tonight, but it's tonight when this comes out tonight.
Tuesday
It's tonight to our listeners and Thursday to us.
And it's funny because there's been a few, things written about this debate. There was a question of whether they're going to be sitting. I think they're not going to be sitting. I think they're going to be standing.
They can't sit, or they.
I think it was going to be that they both have to be sitting.
Okay.
And I think now they're going to be standing.
That's the thing to tune in for. Are they going to be sitting or standing?
But I will say this.
Put some
I
money
think there
down.
is some real questions over whether Joe Biden can talk.
Interesting.
It is, it's funny,
Seems like something that they should probably figure out before the election.
nah, it's all good. Don't worry about it. It's all good. He's 81 years young.
Is he 81 or older?
He is 81. Trump's 78.
Okay.
But those are a crucial 3 years for these two. It's funny. Biden, Trump was making some pretty good cracks about Biden. He was imitating him at that air show in France where Biden wandered off.
Yeah, Maloney had to save him.
Had to guide
He
him.
was Trump was like, you've got paragliders behind. What did he say? Paragliders or parachuters behind? Hamas behind him. Yeah, you got parachuters behind you, and you've got Sleepy Joe just looking at a tree.
Yeah.
Just looking at a tree.
I'm going to say that's generous to Sleepy Joe because he seems to just be looking around.
Yeah, it was sort of reminiscent of. Do you know that clip of Bill Clinton when Hillary Clinton on stage at the DNC when the balloons drop, and he's got the big kind of wide-eyed.
He's like, huh?
Little sundowning looking. Smile.
But Trump, this is a quote. He says, "Right now, Crooked Joe has gone to a log cabin to study. I think he's at Camp David. He's sleeping now because they want to get him good and strong. So a little before debate time, he gets a shot in the ass."
He's actually going to the Aaron Rodgers cabin.
I'll say this. Trump has also suggested that they both be drug tested prior to the debate, which is really funny.
They should be.
But they should be drug tested.
First of all, no PEDs.
Yeah. But I think
This is the Olympics of old guys talking, so no PEDs.
I mean, because so listen, people remember when Biden gave a coherent State of the Union? He did the State of the Union.
Well,
I want to say coherent. I'm not gonna say it was good or but it was mostly he didn't leave. Or
he didn't wander.
He didn't leave the podium.
But he did do the thing where it was coherent in the way that everything was a sentence that had a period at the end.
Yes.
But it was where he would just sort of continue on. He would be and now we need to talk about the economy. And the thing about the economy is that because he was reading as opposed to saying what he was thinking.
And I think that he has to directly read. And if he loses a moment's concentration, then I think he just can't talk.
Yeah, or he gets thrown off.
He gets thrown off.
Yeah.
And
the most recent clips I've seen of him have not been great.
I mean, I'll say this.
A lot of mumblecore moment.
I'm not one of those people who has been how there's people who've been he has dementia since the beginning. I'm always just he's kind of just got old guyitis. You know what I mean? He's just I don't think he doesn't have dementia, but he's got something, and it is I think getting worse.
Yeah.
He does that thing where how old people kind of have the same full body and head and neck movement like this.
Right. Well, because there's a back issue and a neck
it's
issue.
It's the Stevie, but it's how Stevie Wonder be
Well, I think that was different.
Yeah. Well, no, I know, but it's reminiscent of the way that Stevie Wonder kind of does that. He moves his whole shit like that. And Biden does that. He moves really slowly. It's tough.
Yeah, he does.
It's tough.
When he's kind of
Yes, he angles his whole body.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? I think that if there's ever a time to deploy the safe and legal methamphetamine, I think they're going to do it on him before that debate.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's good for the discourse to get some drug tests from both of them because maybe we'll see some fun stuff.
I've had to be drug tested
Trump's
multiple
gotta
times
have
in my life.
something in him.
Yeah. Oh,
Would we be able to see Ozempic? I don't think he's still on Ozempic.
the thing is, like, I don't know.
I think he did a kind of like
he did a cycle.
pre-election slim down, so it was
Yeah.
more like timed like November, December, because you can't be on Ozempic right when if you're doing like literally a full day's work that includes like travel, going to like 4 events, including at like a big sandwich shop. You can't be on Ozempic.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
get too tired.
I wonder if Trump really eats the food.
He
Well,
probably
I know
eats
that none of them,
something.
like Chris Christie's famously the only one who actually does.
He eats everyone's
He
food.
eats everyone's food. But yeah, like I wonder. But like I think Trump is kind of working on like a different sort of less tangible.
Yeah, he has like
medication.
Soylent, but for like Filet-O-Fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the debate, I don't know. I'm interested to see it because it is now election season and we're here to cover it. But I will say, so do you know about the whole thing about them moving the convention?
The DNC you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I read, listen, these things, I read them and then they move through me like water, right?
Totally.
I read something
Soylent.
about they moved it because it's something to do with Ohio.
No, so they moved it because I think that they wanted it to be after the RNC for whatever reason. Who knows? Whatever. And so they moved it, but then Ohio needed to ratify who was on the ballot before that. But in order to be on the ballot, you have to be like officially like chosen as the nominee, which happens, you get nominated at the convention,
Yeah.
right? And so all of this stupid procedure has to happen. But so they were like, okay, we're going to actually have the real nomination process before via Zoom, which is super weird, in order to meet this deadline with Ohio. But then I think lately Ohio was like, nah, it's all good. Like, we'll figure it out. You can do it later. And they're like, no, we'll do it anyway this way so that, you know, in case, you know, there's a Republican state legislature. So we don't want any funny business. And we want to make sure everything is like, so that Joe Biden actually ends up on the ballot in Ohio, right? But I'm like, is that because they're worried that other people might try something at the convention? Because there's been a lot of seeding of politicos and affiliated Democratic apparatchiks are very unhappy with Joe Biden.
Really?
And him. I mean, it's all in the gossip pages of Politico and, you
yeah.
know, Axios and all the places where they, you know, leak stories and want stories to be written. Where they're just like, his polling is bad, he stinks, we don't like the way he's running the campaign, everyone hates him, he's old, he's wandering, he, you know, all the same stuff. And so they're like, can he beat Trump? Can he beat Trump? And that seems to be the big thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, are they doing that because they're worried that someone might mount a challenge at the DNC?
You think me? You think I could do it?
I don't think you could, but I think you could try, and it would be funny and great for the show.
If I was able to unseat Joe Biden.
Yeah, you got to whip up votes.
If I could whip votes. What do I believe in? I believe in selling T-shirts. That's my, I guess, main political ideology in terms of the Democrat-Republican politics. I think that you should sell fans of the candidates T-shirts that say their candidates' names on them.
Sure.
But if it's my name, interesting. Okay. And I also believe in states, but I believe in the country as well, and in the government and economy. And you know what? The military. And what other things are there? Science? I fucking believe that shit.
Yeah.
Really, that's close to my heart. And God.
See, you named all the things.
And women.
That's a great one, too.
Can't forget black people. Also our Latinos. And us. And X's. And Asians of all kinds.
Well, I think you're halfway there. Maybe what we can do is try to get you in shape
What
by...
what does that mean?
Get you in shape by the convention.
I didn't take my shirt off all the way.
No, so that, not physical shape,
Okay, good.
candidate shape.
Gotcha.
And then we can get you ready to mount your... No.
I love Latinos.
No, I don't actually think that anyone. I don't think
I don't
that they're
think
going to
so,
try.
too, yeah.
But there is some. I think there's a non-zero chance.
That
Which
someone does a
isn't-
Hail Mary?
No, which isn't a zero, but a non-zero, I'll say, that he gets replaced. But I don't think that's going to happen, but I think that there's a non-zero chance. That
Where
it
the
happens.
fuck is Kamala Harris, the vice president?
That's who I want to see. She's funniest.
She's so funny. I feel like she was gone for a while. She came back rocking with that coconut tree quote, and then
Yeah.
she disappeared again.
Yeah. She knows how to keep us hanging.
Yeah, I just looked up Kamala Harris on Google. Kamala Harris visits Phoenix to talk abortion in Arizona. So I forgot about that. They got her on the abortion beat. She's
Well, that's
running
much
around.
better than the migrant one.
He didn't mention abortion either.
He did very briefly and in like almost like in passing.
Because I think that he knows that that's
It
not
doesn't
okay.
play.
It does not play.
Well, it
It's-
plays well for Democrats, not Republicans.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think that he probably is like, don't talk about this.
Well, went to a little too far. It was great when you could rally people for it, but then once you exnate all of it, now you got nowhere to go.
Yeah. What's your gut feeling
On what?
on if he's gonna be president?
Oh, I don't fucking know.
My
Do you know how
thing
much
is-
shit can happen between now and the election?
Do you wanna-
So much fucking shit.
Do you want to hear an idea?
There could be a terrorist attack.
Do you want to hear an idea? I think that every time we do election coverage, we should say a completely different result so that after one of those things happen, we can repost that clip and be like, we called it.
But I don't care about predictions.
But
Here's my prediction. I think we're all going to have a lot of fun.
I think that it's going to be, here's what no matter who wins, I think that in 4 years after that date of November or January, we're all going to be really happy with what happens.
I kind of wish that we had one of those like campaign buses made, but for TrueAnon.
I know.
And then we could go around. But
Well,
it would
so-
be like, it's just us. So maybe it would be more like a van.
We're planning on going. Well, we can't drive, so it would be more
He
like.
can.
I know. Well, that's true. Yeah, but I'm like, maybe we can just like get like a. Well, I can't ride a bike either.
Ooh,
So
that
doesn't
would be
work.
so. We could get tandem.
I know, but
wait, you
I-
really can't ride a bike?
Yeah, I can't ride a bike.
I'm not good
Wait,
at
what do you mean you
riding a bike.
can't? What
Like-
happens when you sit on a bike? What happens?
I can
Can you
like
figure it out? What
yeah.
comes next?
So like, I got a bike when I lived in LA a little
Uh-huh.
bit. I got a
Oof,
bike.
that's rough because those streets are not well kept.
Yeah. Well, it didn't really matter. And the bike seat melted. I bought a bike for $10, and I was like, I'm gonna teach myself how to ride a bike, and I did. But for some reason, I couldn't go straight. I could only go in like these big like looping things, and then I broke the bike.
Okay.
But no, I never learned when I was a kid, and then my friend Liz, other Liz, tried to teach me in like when I was like 15 or 16 in fucking the Panhandle. And I think the third time or the second time we met up, my last lesson, I was like riding a bike around in the basketball court, and these like guys, like adults, were like, I was a 16-year-old man. And these guys were like looking at me, and they probably were not making fun of me at all. They were just looking at me because I was clearly learning how to ride a bike, and I was like, I can't do this shit. So I never did.
Okay.
But yeah, I just never learned.
Well, maybe you could sit in the middle, and then you don't have to be really that responsible if we're on a tandem.
Can I sit on the handlebars?
No. That's not safe.
It's what do you mean? But you live a little.
What is this, Sandlot? No, it's not safe.
Have you ridden a tandem before?
Yes. We had one at the store I used to work at, and we would ride it around the store.
I feel like they're difficult. I did once, and I was
It is tough.
I was
It's
very scared.
It's harder than you'd think.
This was in Philly, and I thought I was going to hit somebody's side view mirror, and then it'd be fucked.
It also, and the great thing about the tandem is that it does actually require effort from both people
I'm not wrong
and
with
equal. It's not just about the guy steering; it's also about the caboose.
I'll say this.
And for that reason, it's a great metaphor for friendship and for life.
My thing with
podcast.
driving and with bike riding is basically the same. I could do it. Like
And
I
yet-
could drive.
And yet you can't.
No, I can't do it legally. Like I can drive for sure. I was thinking about this morning. I woke up this morning. My first thought was, I wish I could go 100 miles an hour. I genuinely thought that. And then I was like, but fuck, I got to get my, like, I do a test and shit. But like, that's crazy because I'm on this earth. I didn't ask to be born. Cars aren't on this earth, but I have to, for some reason, go through the government that I don't like in order to be able to do something that exists.
And that's why Brace is voting for the Libertarian candidate.
I'm voting for the Libertarian candidate. Oh yeah, the driver's license thing. We want to go to a Sleepy Joe rally.
We're going to a whole bunch of things.
I will say
You
this.
know what?
Are there Sleepy Joe rallies?
We're gonna find out. We're gonna go to a whole. You know what? You got someone who's gonna have a fundraiser. We're gonna be there.
If there's anything-
someone else is gonna have some sort of campaign event, we're gonna be there. The DNC, we'll be there.
We'll be there. I want to say this. If you're in the tri-state area, but really just within very easy distance from New York or just in New York, let us know. I want to meet Eric Adams is really what I want to do.
Yeah,
I want
especially
Eric
before he
Adams.
gets indicted, which, by the way, what the fuck is going on?
I've been told by many people
You
who
see the
should
stuff
know
with the
that
Oakland mayor?
he's going to get... What?
You see the stuff with the Oakland mayor?
No.
Oh, the FBI raided her house. You didn't see?
No.
Yeah.
From Dalton?
No, in Oakland.
In Oakland?
Yeah, you didn't see?
No.
Yeah. And her lawyer, stepped down. It's the whole thing.
Shang?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Because,
so this is another
it's
thing. This is
They
a...
voted to recall her, remember?
for recall Shang?
Yeah.
I will say that... Oh, they voted. I thought you said we voted.
Oh, no.
I was like, what are you talking about? I never
No, I'm
voted
not
in
an Oakland voter.
Did she get recalled?
I thought so. Or I don't know if she did, but a lot of people voted for her. I remember. I can't remember.
I remember there was a so remember the what's his name? Mohammed Nuru in San Francisco when he got indicted by the FBI and then they let him out and then he immediately was wearing a wire and told people that he was wearing a wire and so got arrested again. There was that London Breed. There was a lot of talk that London Breed was going to get arrested by the FBI, like a lot. And I learned that from people who would know things, not from the FBI, but in politics that would know things. And then she didn't, and I'm like, interesting. So they Oakland.
No, they voted to recall her, so it'll be on the ballot.
She said on Monday she had committed no crimes.
That's always the classic flashback quote.
Yeah.
So it's always after she's after she's convicted of crimes. Remember when she said she had committed no crimes?
It's so funny. I hate fucking mayors, dude.
I know.
Eric
We're
Adams.
an anti-mayor podcast, except for Eric Adams. Please don't listen to the Eric Adams episode.
Remember when he got raided a bunch of times?
But that's what I'm saying.
It's like,
And his very junior assistant.
Mr. FBI, if you're listening to this,
And we know you are.
We know you are.
Because we can hear the weird sounds
The
on our
tapping.
phone.
I do think my phone is being tapped right now. I told you about this the other day because it gets really hot all the time, and it's new. But if you're listening to this FBI, arrest a mayor. Actually arrest a mayor. Don't just fucking raid a mayor. Arrest a mayor.
California is so crazy.
California is insane.
It's so crazy that you can recall.
I know. It's so funny.
So crazy.
It's my whole life too. Gray Davis, remember that?
This is why listen, I love our disgusting, malformed caveman Americans. This is my thing. Americans are cave people.
Yeah, we are.
We are malformed cave people, and this is the mind of the voter is I vote for this person, and now I want to vote to take them out.
Yeah.
That is the classic voter.
I
You
rock
ever
with
see
it.
any story about undecided voters? They give the most incredible quotes you've ever heard.
Well, I will say this. So I've often been jealous of parliamentary systems because it's so funny to have 8 governments in a year or whatever.
Totally.
I think the Third Republic of France averaged 2 governments a year during its entire...
I love that you know that.
Yeah.
Was that written on your hand?
No, I just know it. And I love that kind of instability. Remember when Netanyahu was in and out of there every couple days or whatever?
Yeah.
Or fucking, you end up with a beautiful character like Rishi Sunak. We could never end up with a goat like Rishi with our stupid fucking... I also don't know what first past the post means. I really don't know that much about politics, to be completely honest with you.
Rishi should run for Stanford mayor.
Rishi would be
Palo Alto mayor.
Rishi is
Because
Palo Alto mayor
once
would be
Rishi's out of there,
incredible.
obviously he's going to be.
Yeah.
July 4th. We'll
Yeah.
find out.
We're having the bloke himself in there.
I can't believe the Brits scheduled the fucking election on 4th of July. That's how you know
So
things are not great in the Atlantis
those people are so
circle.
disrespectful.
So disrespectful. Always they just want to kick the colony when we're down. But Rishi, if you're listening, we can't wait for you to come on home, baby.
Come on home.
There's got to be some fund cannot wait to welcome you back into the Silicon Valley sphere. You need to come back. Come back to California. We're going to recall every politician. We're going to elect Rishi.
You don't want to be the prime minister of your failing bullshit. Just every time you think that the UK can't get any lower, it goes significantly lower.
Well, Keir is gonna try to do his best Tony Blair impression. I will say this is my one prediction.
Yeah.
Even though I don't like predictions and I don't do predictions, I do think the UK is gonna rejoin the union.
Really?
I think that they're
don't
going to
think
do
they
a
will.
reverse Brexit and try to get back on in
I
after
just-
Sir Keir
I think
takes
that
the
you,
mantle.
I think that you should reject them. I
yeah,
think they should
you
say
left.
no.
They left.
They left. They
Yeah,
left.
I think they're going to go back.
I'll say this. I just hate. I don't like any of these people. I
No,
don't-
they're all awful.
They're all. I was told by a very wise woman once that the only people who run for office are either like narcissistic psychopaths or completely autistic. And
Interesting. Sometimes both. There's got to be a little
sometimes
bit of
both.
a Venn
Yeah.
diagram.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I think the narcissistic psycho is like outweighs the other ones by a significant amount.
There. Yeah.
But I guess I don't really have anything more to say about that. I heard that and I agree with that.
Well, that's why none of this fucking matters until we get, obviously, Commandante Newsom in the White House.
We got to get the goat Newsom. I mean, my God, we need a man who is. We need a guy who will legalize cheating. We need a. This is the thing. You had Bill Clinton act like a fucking. Oh, I'm sorry, Hillary. Newsom's like, yeah, I fucked my best friend's wife. My best friend's wife. I had sex with her while she was married to my best friend.
Clip that.
And he just rocked forward with that. I hate Gavin Newsom so much. We need
Yeah,
an
when we
American-
say we want, people know that we hate these people, right?
Well, here's the thing. Yeah, I want. Yeah, yes.
We've known that man for a long time.
He raised me. He found me. I was living
I
with
remember when he
wolves.
was just a little shopkeeper at Plump Jack.
He found me in the wolves of Napa, the wolves in the hills of Napa, living amongst wolves.
Yes.
And donkeys.
He saved you from the fire.
I would have. You know what I
He
would.
carried you into French Laundry.
My job right now would be burro. I would be a fucking burro right now.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Gavin Newsom's bringing me to French Laundry and teaching me, he got me my first job there. He got my first gig.
As a chef, your favorite, you were on the line.
I was
and
on the
you
fucking line.
learned.
4 years old, I was at French Laundry.
That's how you learned the military way.
That's how I did it. Yes, that's how I did it. I can make a steak like an au poivre, like a motherfucking like an assassin. What's an au poivre?
Yeah.
Poivre, yeah.
A poivre.
It's a kind of a pepper sauce.
Oh, can I have some au poivre, please? Baby language. Can I, Missy? Vous a poivre? Come on, get real. Speak English. France.
Well, there is much more to come at some point in the future.
I gotta look up Wikipedia American political system because
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense to me how all these guys are running for president.
Yeah.
Trump did shout out Cornel West.
He did. He was like, I love Cornel West,
Yes.
which was very funny. And then he was like, I love Cornel West. I love Jill Stein with the crystals because they both take votes away from the other guy. So they're good. I hate RFK Jr. And then he was like, he's too much. He's just like the rest. He says he's one way, but he's just standard, like, you know,
Yeah,
but he's like,
yeah.
he takes votes from me. I think he said that.
Yeah. It's you don't really hear much about RFK these days.
Well, they're not letting him into the debate, which is like, no shit.
I don't want to hear that shit, man.
Me neither.
I'm not
That
trying to hear
voice
that.
is crazy.
Get real,
I
dude.
always forget about it too. And then I hear a clip of it and I'm like, that's so fucking crazy that someone was like, yeah, it's fine for you to run for office
Could
with
you
that
imagine
voice.
a fireside chat? What if we were?
Well, it would be fine. You'd be like, oh my God, there's a fire because there's smoke that is making you talk like that. You're coughing, you're inhaling. We need to get you to a doctor.
Could you imagine
You got black lung.
if there was some kind of crazy disaster or a war, and like we got to watch the president's address? He's like,
My fellow Americans. My fellow Americans.
Oh my God, like the old
Yeah.
lady pulling the cigarette out of her
when I was a
throat?
kid, I was
That
out
was
to-
the craziest shit when I was a kid.
I was out to dinner with my parents, and I saw a guy like that, and I was
No,
like,
you didn't.
I saw a guy with one of those.
No way.
What do you mean? They're real.
Now that's something you don't see very much these days.
You don't see that very much these days. I've seen him a few times. There used to be a lady who would come to my work who had that, and it was like it made a really big impression on me. But then I realized it couldn't have made that big an impression on me because I started smoking at 12. So I'm like,
so like a little reverso.
yeah, I guess I was just like, I want to be like that, but not that. But I'll do it cooler. Like
Yeah.
I'll have a more badass voice. Hello, hey.
Yeah, but then you end up just like RFK Jr.
You know, I said this
I
on the
never
show
say
before.
the junior.
Yeah,
It's implied.
cheated on his wife so much that she killed herself.
What a weird guy.
He should throw his weight
What a
behind
fucking
Newsom.
what a
I'll
fucking
say,
joke.
I'll say this. We need a man. Whoever's closest with Shmuley Botiak should be the motherfucking president. Because
Cory
Trump's kicked
Booker.
it with Trump's kicked it with Shmuley before. No, Shmuley and Booker had a split.
I know. We need to unite them.
Wait a tick, mistress. I just realized something. I forgot that on our Shmuley's 3 episode, we talked about the shopped around script for Cory
Yes.
Booker and Shmuley Botiak fucking buddy movie.
Yeah.
But that means that somebody out there has that script.
And they have not sent it to us, which means they haven't listened to Shmuley's 3, which is a classic TrueAnon.
If any
episode.
of you Hebrews
Actually, I think
out
it's
in
We Shmuley's
Hollywood,
3.
as what's up?
It's We Shmuley's
It's
3.
We Shmuley's 3. If any of you, as Liz calls, Hebrews out in Hollywood, have access to the Cory Shmuley script, please, any amount will pay.
He was a Jewish script reader.
Jewish Shmuley.
But we will, in fact, we'll make that movie.
With us.
With us in it. We'll completely self-fund an indie movie that ruins our careers, our reputations, our personal lives, etc., finances, obviously. Everything. It will be an apocalypse now. Did they go crazy during that one? I feel like they did because they made a documentary about it, but I'm never going to watch a documentary about a movie that's
Ship
already
of
made.
Dreams.
We're going to have a Ship of Dreams style experience on that. Or Klaus Kinski.
Yeah, we're doing a Gire Wrath of
Liz
God.
is going to go Kinski if we can make the Cory Shmuley movie. All right, let's wrap this up.
We really need that script.
We need the Shmuley script. Who do you think wrote it?
Someone really, really talented.
Yeah, I would say probably one of the best scriptwriters that ever made it. I love Shmuley. You don't hear much about Shmuley these days.
Yeah, you do. I just saw some stuff about Shmuley.
Really?
I feel like Shmuley was in some debate.
God, I'd love.
I think he got kind of like YouTube. I saw a YouTube Shmuley face.
Part of me wonders whether Shmuley would. We don't do that, but I'm like, I've said this. I'm like, part of me wishes that we just sometimes had horrible freaks on, but I don't actually want to talk to any of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to debate Shmuley Botiak, right?
Yeah, I'm not a debate guy.
I just kind of want to just view a freak, if that makes sense. Like I just want to look at a monster.
Well, you should turn your monitor on. Oh wait, the opposite.
I have a laptop, so it'd just be turning the laptop on, and I can't do that because my Liz collage isn't done yet. I have to add the targeting reticle.
With that, I'm Liz.
Bring, bring. Hello, Opportunity. My name is Brace. We're, of course, joined by producer Young Chomsky, and the podcast is called
TrueAnon. Vote true no matter who. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey